Yes, good evening, people, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to this channel. Listen, I'm going to do a little bit of a fan cam. If you haven't seen it already, then I have been on AFTV. I don't know if you guys watch me on AFTV, but I have left the ground. I'm back home, and it was a convincing win. Was it a convincing performance? I've heard some Arsenal fans saying that actually it wasn't too convincing, and we actually played better in games against West Ham and Liverpool. Listen, 5-0. I'm much happier winning 5-0 than losing games. I don't care. Win me football matches. Listen, I can kind of understand what people were talking about. We're going to get into it. Make sure you do me a favour. Make sure you catch up on the content you may have missed. Myself, Troops, and Curtis were talking all things Arsenal a couple of days ago, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. There's been a great clip put out on that as well, so make sure you catch up with that one. And make sure you do us a favor with this one. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are over 15K. It is amazing, but I want to get to 20K quickly. So please make sure if you are not already subscribed that you do hit the subscribe button, because it is absolutely free, and you do like the video, because that is also absolutely free. Big up to all of you for being here nice and early. Any questions you got for me, whack them in the chat. You know the score. I'll always answer some questions with a live interactive audience, so make sure that you put a Q at the start of it so that I know it's a question, and super chats will go to the top of the queue. Listen, Arsenal won 5-0. And I must say, at half-time, I sat there scratching my head thinking, are we actually going to score a goal in open play, or are we going to go 4 or 5 games without it? And we'll come back to that in a minute, because what I was hoping for was a reaction. And I was hoping for a response from what has been a really abysmal back end of the festive period. And the new year hasn't been a happy new year as far as most Arsenal fans are concerned. So we got a little bit of reaction, and there was a lot of talk about what Arsenal were actually going to be doing out in Dubai. Of course, you get the negative with it. You get the Salt Bay incident. You get, of course, everyone sitting and chilling out, sunning it up. They're not doing anything. It's all chill out time. It's all relaxing time. And Edu's not signing anybody. But when you look at the performance, you can see some things that they've been working on. Now, I think a lot of people overlooked what they wanted to see from Arsenal today. I think a lot of people looked at Arsenal's performance and was expecting to see free-flowing, attractive, fluid football. They were expecting to see a little bit of telepathy between some of the players that have potentially regressed so far this season. And also what they were, I think, were expecting and hoping to see was us blitz teams. Now, they got the latter. We did blitz Palace. It was 5-0. But I think we overlooked something that happened today. Set pieces. Set pieces today were finally something that Arsenal can get behind and be proud of. And I've got to say, I love this player, by the way. I absolutely love this player. But he couldn't take corners, and he had to be taken off of him. And I was so pleased to see Leandro Traore start the game, but also not take the corners. And what was more interesting about that was that the actual corners we put in didn't go anywhere near the first man. Because when I look at the corners Leandro Traore has taken in the last few weeks, all of them hit the first player. I look at the corners that Bukayo Saka and Martinelli were taking, Ødegaard were taking. All of them were hitting the first man. Now today, we see it changed. So what does that mean? Does it mean that they were just poor corners? Does it mean that we were trying something that weren't working and we've now changed it? Or is it just that we were sticking to something that was clearly worked upon in training that we just weren't able to get right in those few games? I think it's probably a little bit of a mix. And I called out the set piece coach, Nicholas Jover, and said, where is he? Is he still working on that in training? Is it something we need to look at? And I think in Dubai, it's something that we definitely have worked upon. Now, our corners today were quite interesting. One of them come from Bukayo Saka, which went down as an own goal, but Gabriel really got his head to it for his second goal of the game. But Declan Rice took our first corner. Now, I'm so shocked by that, because Declan Rice has a physical presence of, 6'3", 6'4", and he's taking the corners. But wow, what a corner it was. Gabriel got into amazing space, got the header, we go 1-0 up, and then we nearly score from another corner pretty much straight after it, which I think comes off the head of one of the Palace defenders and then ends up hitting the corner of the bar and post, and Dean Henderson's nowhere near it. Then when you look at the third chance we had, which was our second goal, Gabriel gets his head to it again. And that's where I want to start. This player, I think, is becoming very consistent as an Arsenal player. And I know a lot of people will say that this season he's had a couple of moments, but defenders are going to. I think he has been overlooked by many football fans, by many Arsenal fans, as one of the most consistent, one of the best this season, defensively one of the best this season. And when you look back at his 4 years at Arsenal, he probably is up there as one of Mikel Arteta's best signings. Because a lot of people will look at Martin Ødegaard, some might look at Ben White, Some might look at Thomas Partey. But for me, Gabriel has played consistently, probably better than all of those players. I don't think there's many games I can think of where I think, crikey, Gabriel, 1 out of 10, poor. He never goes missing in games. He's always fit. And I'll touch wood when I say that just in case because of Arsenal. But when I look at Gabriel, he complements William Saliba. And sometimes you need that partnership. We haven't had many over the years. As an Arsenal fan, I grew up on the best, yeah? Tony Adams and Steve Bold, Tony Adams and Martin Keown. Then we went into the Invincible era with Kolo Toure and Sol Campbell. And most of our Emirates eras were poor. The best I can think of is probably Koscielny and Mertesacker. And they weren't outstanding, but they had a good record together and understood each other. I think Saliba and Gabriel are probably going to be thought of as some of the partnerships in the earlier days at Highbury under George Graham and Arsene Wenger, as opposed to the ones of the Emirates era, where, let's be real, we've pretty much put people together. I'm a huge fan of what I've seen from Gabriel since he's been an Arsenal player. And there was times where he had a few bozo moments, if you remember. I remember losing my head at him at AFTV once when I was doing a watch along. I think it was the Leeds game where he got sent off and gave away a penalty. And then VAR got involved and overturned it all because it wasn't actually a red card. It wasn't actually a foul, etc. For me, Gabriel has been phenomenal. And he's actually stopped quite a lot of those bozo moments. He doesn't look as rash. When people look past him in combined 11s, it's scary to me. Like, it really is scary to me. I don't mind if you're trying to force in Van Dijk or Ruben Diaz or maybe even John Stones if you want to throw in players like that. But when there's people like Tottenham fans that are trying to put Romero in, or Chelsea fans trying to put Thiago Silva in still at 40 years old, or Manchester United fans trying to put in Varane, I'm sorry, I can't have it. Gabriel and Saliba have both been outstanding, and for me, have been the best partnership so far this season. I thought Saliba ate up Mateta today. I'm not a huge lover of Mateta. I think he's a big guy. But actually, football-wise, he's not great. I don't think his brain's great. I don't think he's got much than stand up there and try and use your presence. But Saliba ate him up. He didn't really give him much. I think he lost one battle that I saw and he recovered and won the ball back. And then one of the other times he got beat was because Mateta fouled him. I think he was getting frustrated. He was pushing him. He was trying to pull him down. There was times he grabbed hold of his shirt. Saliba just shrugged him off. We've got a monster. And we've got a monster pairing because there's a monster in Gabriel in the way that he is never say die attitude, last ditch defending, gets stuck in, uses his strength, using his brute force. And then you've got Saliba, who's just that calm, on the ball playing defender who looks calm and composed in everything that he does. I can't believe the guy's so young. The fact that he looks so confident. And every time the ball goes towards our back line and he's there, I'm like, literally, I don't even get butterflies. I don't get nerves. I don't get anxious. I just know that Saliba's going to do all he can to keep that ball in and get it back for us and win that ball back. So the partnership needs a lot of praise. I will say that we need to be a little bit, we need to remain calm and restrained because it's Crystal Palace who are struggling. The fans want their ownership out. They want Roy Hodgson sacked. They've got loads and loads of injuries and have had all season. And I think personally, if you look back at what Palace did to Patrick Vieira, and I'm not saying this because I'm a gooner, Patrick Vieira did a good job at Crystal Palace and he'd lost some games and people said he had to go. But the run of fixtures that he had in the period that he got sacked was difficult. And then when Roy Hodgson come in, they had 6 or 7 very winnable games. Games against teams that were in the bottom half of the table. When he started winning them, all of a sudden Roy's a genius and it was the right decision. I would rather have Patrick Vieira as my manager if I'm Crystal Palace. I know what I'm getting with Roy. He's not going to take you anywhere further. And Patrick Vieira had the chance to actually do that with Palace. He looked like he was going to put a Crystal Palace into a top half finish and he got them to an FA Cup semi-final, somewhere they haven't been for a long time. So for me, I think Roy Hodgson, as much as he's been a great manager over the years, it's time for them to actually stick with a plan and give Patrick Vieira, for example, longer in the job because actually he would have given those wins to Palace and put them where Roy Hodgson would. They just needed to stick by him. Now, I'm one to talk because I'm one to sometimes pull the plug, right? But actually, when it comes to Vieira, when you can actually see what someone was doing and bringing in some of the players he did, like the brute force he did with Decore, for example, as a player, getting the best, bringing in Michael Elise, getting the best out of Eze. For me, I think Patrick Vieira being sacked was probably one of the worst things that Palace could have done. Now, look at them. They're looking at absolute mess. The only thing I will say about Palace today, I thought actually, apart from the set pieces, one-on-one defending, they did very well. In open play, we found it difficult until the second half, but they just crumbled, didn't they? They absolutely went to pieces. And to be fair, there was only really Eze that had a good game. Maybe Tariq Mitchell, because Saka couldn't really get past him, which we'll come on to in a minute. But Eze, I thought, made the most of a very, very average midfield that Arsenal had today. I thought it was fairly average. Declan Rice didn't have an amazing game, but he wasn't poor by any means. Kai Havertz, likewise, didn't think he did much at all. Martin Odegaard, I didn't look at him and think, wow, everything was going through him. So I don't think midfield we bossed today at all. So I must say, fair play to Crystal Palace for that, because Eze, what a baller. Like, honestly, what a baller. The only one who looked like anything, could create anything and cause any form of threat was, of course, Eze. So, big fan of that player. I think he's going to leave. I don't know where he's going to go. I think Spurs are interested. I imagine Chelsea will be interested. I'd love to say that Arsenal will be interested, because that's a player for me, along with Elise, that we should be trying to get in to give some cover for Saka. And that's where I want to go next. I'm going to come on to the positives of the second half next, after talking about Bukayo Saka, because although I didn't think he was a shambles today, every time he got the ball, he was struggling to beat his man. And Tariq Mitchell was a very good defender, but he's not one I look at and think, yeah, you can see why you're not getting past him. Saka doesn't seem to want to go outside of his man for some reason. I don't know why that is. He's becoming a little bit too predictable, like Pepe was in the last few games. I've noticed that he's going to go inside, and they know he's going to go inside. And sometimes I just wish that he would either go on the outside or use Ben White and Martin Odegaard a little bit quicker, because it's becoming very, very obvious where he's going. And that's making it very easy to defend against at the moment. I would also like to see Bukayo Saka switch sides. I'd love to see Arteta give him a little bit of a game on the left-hand side and see where we are, with Martinelli and Saka switching sides, because then they have to go on the outside of the man. I'd also, when we do that, like to see Kai Havertz put more in a forward role, so that when we do cross the ball, he's actually in there to either win headers to head at goal, or to flick on to whoever's behind him. Maybe it be Odegaard, or one of the other players that's come on. So Saka needs to improve and look at his own game, because the others today definitely stepped it up in terms of the front four, for sure. Gabriel Jesus. I'm going to start with the other. I'm going to mention one Gabriel. I'm going to start with Gabriel Jesus. He was a workhorse today. Absolute workhorse. Spinning on the ball, turning on the ball, taking on his man, taking on one or two men, trying to link up play, getting involved with the other players around him, setting up the Trossard goal. Thought he had a really good game. Again, didn't score, but actually, when you look at his performance, I was quite impressed by Gabriel Jesus, and I think he deserved a lot of credit today. I thought he was really good in parts. Then we come on to Leandro Traore, who I thought had a good game. I didn't think he was outstanding in the first half, and I think he probably should have done better with his chance that he had just before half time. He said it got deflected, but if you look at it again, I think he just got underneath the ball and put it over. He's leaning back a little bit. But he kept composed for the Gabriel Jesus assist, and he managed to take a first touch, which literally got it in his stride, did the defender, put the defender on his backside, and then he slots it home. And that goal was key. I think everybody then went, and relax, because we'd obviously got the 2 goals from set pieces, which we've talked about. And then obviously Leandro Trossard kept his composure to make it 3-0. And then the subs come on, and that's where I want to go next, because I give Arteta a lot of criticism, and people were getting very sensitive again, as they always do on Twitter or X, saying that I was a disgrace. I don't know what I'm talking about, and the manager knows better. I'm so glad Dan Potts is not the manager of Arsenal. Yeah, so am I, because I'm not a football manager, mate. But I'll take £8 million a year, that's for sure. Listen, he said that he rates Emil Smith-Rowe and he's not for sale. And he played Kai Havertz ahead of him. He's bought Fabio Vieira and Havertz for £100 million. You don't do that if you rate Smith-Rowe. He's not giving him a chance on the left-hand side. He's got Martinelli, Trossard and Nelson all ahead of him. But he come on today and he looked sharp. I must say he probably should have got better with his footing for the chance that he had where he could have shot on goal. But actually, apart from that, he looked sharp. I thought his passing was good. He looked to drive forward, which I've really missed. You know, when Smith-Rowe gets the ball from deep, spins, that turn on the ball and then drives? That's what I've missed in our midfield. That's something Kai Havertz cannot do. Kai Havertz lets the ball stick to him and sprays it out. He doesn't turn and run on the ball. That's something I just don't see Kai Havertz doing. And when he does do that, he's looking to release it as soon as possible. Smith-Rowe could actually take it forward and make something happen and look to at least show a little bit of flair and creativity and a little bit more of a threat at goal, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from Smith-Rowe. And when Smith-Rowe and Martinelli were standing there on the sidelines, you could feel it in the crowd. The atmosphere started to lift. And it was like, we're bringing on 2 players that can actually impact the game here. And we're so used, aren't we, of Eddie coming on, or maybe Nelson, or maybe we're bringing on Kai Havertz, or maybe we're bringing on Jorginho, who come on again today and actually did quite well. I look at the subs we're bringing on today and I'm thinking, this is good. I like this. And it actually worked for Martinelli. So Martinelli's where I want to go next. He's the other Gabriel I haven't mentioned yet. There's 3 Gabis today, all done something. Gabriel Jesus' work rate, Gabriel's 2 headed goals, and Martinelli's 2 goals. They were absolutely identical. But I have to say, 2 things. One positive, one negative. The negative, Crystal Palace, what are you doing? They actually went to 5 at the back and allowed Martinelli to get in twice within minutes of each other. I honestly cannot believe how poor the defending is. From Tompkins, who gets completely dragged in. And then you've got Nathaniel Klein, who just gets in no man's land. The ball goes across, it's over from Jorginho, and he slots it home. And then, of course, Eddie Nketiah for the first goal that Martinelli scored, puts in a great pass for him, and he's got all the time in the world. Thierry Henry-esque finish, just slots it home, calm, composed. And I'm so pleased for Gabriel Martinelli because he's already doubled what he's got already in the league in one game. He's only got 2 goals and now he's hit 4. And I think that's what I want to be seeing from Gabriel Martinelli now. Do we actually play Trossard and keep Martinelli as a bit of an impact sub? Or do we switch it round again now? I think it's only a matter of time before Martinelli starts again. But actually, it was a really exciting sub to bring on. And I was really happy to see him. And that's something that I've got to say I'm really looking forward to now, Smith-Rowe and Martinelli and Trossard-wise, because they're 3 subs that we could use. And actually, they could lift the crowd and actually have a bit more of an impact. So Gabriel Martinelli, I'm really, really fond of, and I'm really, really happy that he did that because it just he was electric when he come on. He was tenacious. He was a threat. He had a little bit of flair, taking his men on, beating them, getting into the box, crossing the ball, and then of course slotting the 2 finishes home that looked pretty much identical to each other. And then it's 5-0. So we have a convincing win on the scoreline, but maybe there were moments in that game where it looked very similar to the last few weeks. It wasn't too free-flowing or fluid. I didn't think the telepathy was always there with some of the players. But I did see some individual performances that had definitely improved over the last few weeks. Zinchenko being one of them. Ben White being another. I feel like Martinelli's already been mentioned, but Trossard in the same breath as well, because I don't think he's been great of the last few weeks. And Gabriel Jesus, who, to be fair, has always worked hard, like Martinelli, but I thought both of them today were actually decent, to be fair. So I have to say, I'm quite impressed with some of the individual performances. But one thing got me down today, and I'll tell you what it was. The crowd. Absolute dead. The whole game, I could hear individual voices singing songs. Normally you get chants of crowds. There's 7, 8, maybe 9, maybe 12, 20, 30 people all singing Arsenal, Red Army, come on you Arsenal. All of these songs that we're being chanted. Some of the individual player songs, Saka and MLB Smith-Rowe being sung. Actually today you could hear like 2 men screaming or one on his own screaming. And I just felt it was flat. And I don't know if it's the balloting system. I don't know if it's that we've been down at the dumps at the moment. I don't know if it's an early kickoff and dry January, so no one's into the mood for the song. But come on, man, you need to get up for the football. This is a football day. This is a game you need to be involved with. And I know that Fergus and Dan, who sit behind me, are always screaming and chanting. And I'm always the one trying to get the others around me involved. And me and my dad sing. You've got some of the others around us that are just standing there watching the game as if like, when does this finish then? What time can I go out at half time and get a nice hot chocolate? It's bloody freezing here. Like, what are you here? What are you here for? Honestly, what are you here for? So, yeah, Salvatore says in the chat, the fans are nervous. They weren't sure what to expect. Absolutely, totally agree. But you need to be singing, man. You need to be bringing the atmosphere because the atmosphere was electric last year, but it's dead this season. I don't know why, but it is. And that's the kind of last thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, that. Now, a lot of people have said to me, where does this mean for Arsenal? Well, let's just keep calm, yeah? We've won against a poor Palace side, 5-0, and we've seen what this Arsenal side do. We have been here before many times. We've had a cluster of bad results, and we've gone on a little bit of a run. We need to go on a big run now. We need to go on a big run. We've beaten Palace, but we've now got City ground, should I say, Forest at the City ground. Then we have Liverpool at home again. Then we have West Ham and Burnley, and we need 12 points. in all those 4 games. I'm sorry. You know, some people might say 10 will be enough, but for me, we need 12. We've already dropped points. We can't be dropping more. You know, we should have beaten Liverpool at home. We should have been 2 or 3 nil up in the first 30 minutes, out of sight. We weren't. We've got to be this time. We need to beat West Ham. I'm sorry. We need to go to that ground is horrible to go to. Yeah. But when we have been there, we have won there before. I've seen us win there. Rob Holding and Gabriel scored headers. I've seen us win there before. Alexis Sanchez got a hat trick when he first went there. I think it was the first year that they actually went there. We can beat them there. Yeah, it's a horrible ground to go to. They make it horrible for us. And West Ham have sort of become some of our rivals, or tried to become anyway. Their fan base have, because of the Declan Rice signing. They absolutely hate us for it. So we've got to go and get revenge there, man. They've beaten us twice. Once in the Cup, once at the Emirates. Don't let us beat us. Make it a hat trick. Yeah. Burnley away should be 3 points. They're struggling this season. So I want to be seeing 12 points. I can't sit there and say that this is, it's not a bad result if we get 7 or if we get 10. No, it is. We're catching and trying to put the pressure on Man City and Liverpool now because we ruined our chance of being at the top from Christmas. And after that, it's gone to pot. These are big, 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 big tests. And so far, we're failing big tests. Both cup competitions were big. We went out of them both and lost. St. James's Park, we lost. Villa Park, we lost. We went to Liverpool at the Emirates, we lost. West Ham came and we wanted to, after being top, we lost. Yeah, Stamford Bridge, another one, we lost. North London Derby, couldn't win. Sorry, we didn't lose at Stamford Bridge, we drew. But you get my point. Every big challenge has been, this game big. No, we haven't got 3 points. So that's got to start changing for me now, big time. Let's take 3 questions before we close. This one comes in from Ash. Big up, my bro. Says, do you still think we need a striker? I do, and I hope today doesn't stop us getting one if we can afford one. But great goals from set pieces must have been practicing in Dubai. Yeah, obviously we touched on that earlier, Ash, and I do agree. I think we have been practicing on them. We do definitely need a striker. I look at Ivan Toney today. He's come back on his Brentford debut after his 8-month ban, and he scored a free kick. And people will say, 70% of the goals he scores are free kicks or penalties. Cool. I'll take that. That sounds good to me. If the ball's going in the back of the net, I'll take it because that's what we're struggling with at the moment. Ivan Toney's not coming to Arsenal this January, but maybe he will in the summer. Victor Osimhen's not coming to Arsenal this January. Maybe he will in the summer. Maybe people want to go and put in a bid for Evan Ferguson in the summer. But for me, I don't care about the summer. I care about now. And we need somebody. If this Getafe striker is not going to want to come, they don't want to sell him, or we don't have the money, move on to someone we can afford. If Joshua Zirkzee is your only hope, I'd rather have him than nobody. But at the same time, if we're going to be looking at those sort of names, Mayoral and Zirkzee, I would rather go and spend £20 million on wages for Benzema for 6 months. That's what I'd rather do. Yeah. And people have said to me today, I was speaking to Tom and Harry earlier, we can't afford him. He's on £1 million a week. We can't afford him. That's not going to happen, Dan. Well, offer him 350k a week for 6 months and see if he'll take that. Because if he comes back to Europe, no one's going to pay him $1 million. Everyone's in this profit and sustainability. No one's going to offer him that. Maybe Chelsea would offer him 500k a week. Maybe he'll go there. But that's the only other option. He's not going to Man City. Man United is another option, but they don't have any more money than we have. So really, and Liverpool and City don't need him. So really, it's only Arsenal and Chelsea, I think, that would even consider doing that. And I think it's something we should be doing, Ash. So big up yourself, man. This one comes in from Ashley Pope. He says, would you play Saka left, Martinelli central, and Jesus right? 100%. Our front three should mix it up, bruv. Absolutely. And I said that earlier. They should. We would need to see it work, or at least tried to see if it'll work. And I don't think we've seen that at all yet. Trossard's the only one that's mixed it up, really. Jesus, we've seen a couple of times go wide, and I've quite liked him there. But Saka and Martinelli, they seem stuck to that left and right, and I think it'd be lovely to mix it up a little bit. This one comes in from Don Carlo, who says, do you think Smith-Rowe needs to start over Havertz? When he came on, he looked lively and kept it ticking, still concerned about his injury record. 100% he needs to play in that attacking 8 role now, Smith-Rowe. The Kai Havertz number 8 does not work. It does not work. And today it didn't work again. Kai Havertz is absolutely fine if you want to fling him on for 20 minutes in an Olivier Giroud type substitution that gives us a different dimension up front. That is all I want to be seeing Kai Havertz do. And people might say, that's £65 million. I don't care. Stop forcing him to be good. It was a bad signing. Yeah. Try and do something with him that might work, because this ain't working in the number 8. I'll tell you that now. It's got ridiculous, in fact. I don't really look at any of his game and think, wow, like really, that is just fantastic. This one comes in from Patrick, who says, do we think Ødegaard will ever get back to his last season performance? I do think he will. I just think that last season, everything was literally working. There was nothing that wasn't working. And I feel like sometimes when there's departments around him or compartments of our team that aren't quite up to the standards, so that affects some of the other players. Martin Ødegaard has been trying, to be fair. And in the games that we lost, I thought he was one of our better players. But in terms of his last season form, he's got to start scoring goals. Like Martinelli has today, he's got to lift his performance. And so Saka. Yeah. Because it's not about them not trying or wanting it. They are trying it, but they've got to deliver. They've got to deliver our front four. And then people will start to say we don't need another striker. We still need a striker, even if they are performing. But we really need a striker when they're not performing. Because our front four were goals by committee last season. Yeah. Jesus was out for 3 months and still got 12 goals, I think it was, in all competitions. Ødegaard, Saka, and Martinelli all got 15. That's an amazing amount of goals. Yeah. It's over 45 goals just between the three of them. So I'm looking at it right now thinking, yeah, do you know what? We could actually get to a stage where we hit towards 50 goals from last season. And if you halve that, we could get 20 to 30 goals between them if they turn it on now. But they've got to turn it on now. They really have to. My last thing I'll say, Thomas Partey, Timber, and Tomiyasu are all going to be massively key when they come back, particularly Thomas Partey. I think the transition from midfield to forward line will definitely improve immensely with Thomas Partey in the side. At the moment, there's doubts for Gabriel and Rice, who come off today with knocks. I hope this not long term. I don't think Gabriel's looked too bad, but apparently Rice is his hamstring and that it could be a tweak. I hope that that's all it is and it's not torn. They've just had time in warm weather training in Dubai, so you'd like to think they've come back refreshed. But unfortunately, it didn't look great when he come off. Apparently, it looked like he might be out for the next game. But if that's the case, it could be a problem at Nottingham Forest because we'll have Jorginho, Havertz and Ødegaard, and that does not work. It really doesn't. So I pray and hope that Partey is back. Now, even if Partey is back for Forest and Rice is out, he won't start. I really don't think that will happen. But listen, I do feel like Nottingham Forest, it's a good time to play them right now. And last season, it was a bad time because they were fighting for their lives in relegation. Steve Cooper managed to keep them up on the day they beat us. And fair play to him. It was the best ground I went to for away support last season. It was phenomenal. But when I look at it this time round, I just have my worries and concerns. But at the same time, I'm in a position where I do feel that that is a good time to play them. And this can give a little bit of momentum now and some confidence, which is what we're looking at. Aaron, big up yourself, bro. Member of the channel. If you do want to be a member, then make sure when you hit like, subscribe, you hit join, which is next to it, and you can do so. Says Potsy, are you away at Porto? No, I'm not going to Porto, mate. And I'm bloody busy for the home leg as well, so I'm going to miss both of these games, unfortunately, with other events that I've got on that I just literally can't get out of. So they're the only two that I'm missing. These games. Listen, I pray and hope. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I pray and hope that we get through that leg. Both those legs. I just honestly, I really do. Listen, we're going to leave it there, people. Big up to everybody. Make sure you do me a favor. How many likes have we got in the house? We're already 7 away from 100 likes. Come on, people. All you got to do is hit it. It's free. Just hit the like button. 7 of you. It's 290 of you in chat. 7 people can hit the like button, right? More than 7 can hit the like button, I'm sure. There we go. It's gone up to 94. Keep going, people. We've got 6 more to go. All you got to do is hit it for me. And then I hit over 100. And we're over it. Legends. Well done. Always like to get over 100 likes if I can on a stream. And we've done it. You're all legends. Take it easy. We'll see you next time. I'm out of here. And up the Arsenal. Let's hope and pray that we can keep something going. Before I do go, if anybody would like one of these behind me, where is it? Behind me there. Canvas. You'll see it. Canvas, gun on it, cannon on it. If you do want it, link in the description. Hit over to Gunnar Russ 11. You'll probably all know him in the Emirates. He's a season ticket holder and he's doing all of these photographies and a lot of merch. So make sure you hit him up. Say, Dan Potts has sent me. I want one of these. I'm a Gunnar and he'll get one sorted for you. All right. So make sure you do that. Link in the description. It does all sort of colours as well that go your bedroom. So make sure that you get one, people. We'll see you next time. Take it easy and up the Arsenal. Laters.